In the past, when I've been asked to speak for Black History Month, I normally have honored the legends that have come before us. I've previously talked about Sojourner Truth, Medgar Evers, and various other historical figures. However, today I'm going to do something a little different and speak to some of my personal experiences as a Black woman in America. I think, especially after some of the recent events that have occurred this week, that it's important to reflect on the present and the room for growth that our society has to continue breaking barriers, stereotypes, and injustices. I've had so many experiences throughout my life that have significantly shaped the woman that I am today. Despite my attempts to fit in and feel comfortable around my friends while growing up in a predominantly white neighborhood, I was always reminded that I was a little different. From a friend pretending to be sick so my parents could take her home from a family party of ours because she didn't feel comfortable around Black people, to a friend of mine tugging on my hair when I first got it permed because she thought I was wearing a wig, to constantly being told that I wasn't Black enough from people who had no idea what it even meant to be Black. I certainly have struggled to be my authentic self. Then, after graduating high school and starting college at UConn, it felt like I finally had an opportunity to reinvent myself and pave a path to self-acceptance. I joined various Black student associations and found a huge community of people who looked like me that I could befriend. I also most notably joined the En-ROADS organization, a nonprofit dedicated to developing and placing talented underserved youth in business and industry and preparing them for corporate and community leadership. That opportunity got my foot in the door of the beloved company that I still work for to this day. And from there, my path to authenticity widened even further. I was interning with 80 to 100 interns that either looked like me or shared similar experiences. I joined the African American Forum and took on roles of increasing responsibility within that business resource group at work, such as community outreach lead, communications lead, and ultimately the Connecticut site lead. I partnered with the En-ROADS program to continue growing the En-ROADS legacy at my company after I became a full-time employee as well. My diversity inclusion efforts led me to eventually being honored with various awards at my company. I felt on top of the world. I had a supportive and inclusive community of colleagues at work who respected me and saw me for who I wanted to be seen as. A strong, smart, successful Black woman who could do anything that she set her mind to. However, in the spring of 2020, the world was going through trying times. We were living through a global pandemic, navigating the isolation, economic impacts, and social injustices that came with it. For me, as a young Black woman, I did my best to take care of my physical and mental well-being, but the very public murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many others found myself being back to the shy, young Black girl who questioned whether the world really accepted her. I also had a few instances at work around that time where I was being labeled as an angry Black woman with an attitude for just respectfully speaking up for myself and my team. I even had a situation in a Zoom meeting with 20 plus of my colleagues when someone didn't realize that they were sharing their screen and sent a message to someone else saying that I was being especially snippy that day. Imagine you're in a meeting, someone's sharing their screen, they're literally typing this message out about you that everyone else can see. It was one of the most humiliating experiences of my life. But luckily, my community at work reminded me that I wasn't alone. I had allies reaching out to me to see how I was doing. I don't think they realized that when they would reach out and ask me, that I would start breaking down and crying, but I did, and they handled it graciously. One of the allies was the director of my 200-plus employee supply chain organization. And we had a great conversation about my struggles at that time and how I was feeling. He offered to create an opportunity for me to lean into this and share my experiences with others. This came in the form of me speaking during one of his all-hands meetings. I was nervous to be bold and vulnerable in front of so many people, but I got on Zoom and said a few words similar to what I'm doing now to provide insight into what it had meant for me at the time to be a Black woman in this country. The all-hands meeting couldn't have gone better. I received so many positive messages afterwards, commending me for sharing my experiences and opening the opportunity for more dialogues. It eventually grew to my director and I starting a D&I team within our organization, where we hosted various events to provide a means to continue discussing intersectionality and inclusivity. However, this past week was another time where I went back to feeling like young Evian again, with some recent decisions that have been made. But luckily, I was reminded yet again by my community that I wasn't alone. One of my closest friends called me on Friday and asked me how I was doing. And can you guess how I reacted? Yes, I broke down in tears yet again. So on brand for me. But her call to me was inspiring. Her comforting words as an ally reminded me that I've made such amazing strides over the last several years promoting inclusiveness. And no government policy or criminal act can change that. We all need to continue listening to each other's stories and committing to learning and changing our behavior so that we can create positive experiences for each other. Let's continue being allies to one another, like the many in my community that have reminded me that I am not alone. On this Black History Month, let us not forget that we are an open and affirming congregation. Let us take time to love our neighbors as ourselves. Let us not judge each other by the color of our skin, but of the content of our character. Let us always do what's right, respect others, and perform with excellence. Let's always embrace each other's differences and feel, think, and empathize with one another. Allyship isn't being there for someone, it's being with someone. Thank you to my Golden Hill community for always providing a platform for me to be my authentic self. Happy Black History Month.